out of his case and wear it on the show, and then you return it when you come back to the green room. Green room rent-a-swag. Why haven't we done this at Morningstar?
Yeah, that would be amazing.
I mean, you could have like a little thing of Rolex.
Yeah, Bobby Connor's like, oh, give me that. That's what I want right there. I want that necklace.
What would Rick take?
Oh, hey, you got any fishing vests?
I can just see that. Oh, that would be great. Rick, if you're watching, that was Dave Vallier. I just want to make sure.
I say it with no shame.
Yeah, how can you be watching the podcast anyway? So, I mean, I think, ladies and gentlemen, I know that there are times when stuff that we're talking about, and this is that, like there should be music when we start to get serious. We're coming up with a spiritual point. Listen, I've seen people get offended by stuff like we're talking about in churches, or really go off on people. To me, like, I've been around a lot of people, they just did not know any better.
It's true.
They just didn't know. True. They weren't trying to be evil. Like, I had a friend bring in beer. He'd never been to church before, brought in beer, because the beer store next door was closing by the time church got out, and he wanted to make sure he had the beer. So he brought in like a 12-pack, and he had it. He's like, no, I got it in a little bag, and I'm just going to keep it here, and because he didn't want to leave it outside.
Right.
He didn't know. Yeah. I had to give him the rule.
Right.
Rule 21. You cannot BYOB to church.
Right.
It's like a rule. You cannot have a 2-drink minimum on communion.
All right, if you want communion, minimum. That's amazing. Now, that's another idea.
Yeah.
You can open club communion, 2-drink minimum.
Wow. Thus saith Mary on that one. Stop. You're going to get us going. All right. So we're going to have to put that disclaimer on. People just don't know any better. So I would say this, ladies and gentlemen, when you see stuff like that happen, and you see these things happen, instead of getting off-put or even being judgmental, it's very difficult to, you can't see the heart of people. I mean, some people are doing things that seem extremely strange or rebellious or inappropriate to us. But in their heart, they're really wanting to do the right thing. And you think of David, dancing, and he kind of stripped down, maybe not in the exact manner that you're speaking.
Yeah, well, according to Scripture, the man was almost naked.
He was almost naked.
Or pretty much, yeah.
Is that the way you would say it? How would you say it? Yeah.
Yeah, that guy was right there, then he was naked.
Now, here's one that I had to learn. If the presence of God comes down and you're south of the Mason-Dixon line, you have to use the 2 words GLOWRAY, like glow-ray. That's what
I was trying to track it. I was like, what does he spell?
Glow-ray.
Yeah, or instead of saying anointed, you're like, man, that was so anointment.
The anointment, yes.
The anointment just came in right there. Oh,
I often feel the anointment over our podcast.
Yes, I do too.
I was trying to tie this up in a neat bow and present this spiritual thing. You may encounter some of the stuff we talked about. I'm sure you have your own things. First of all, we can't judge people's hearts sometimes. Right. Really, they just don't know. Yeah. The guy doing the MMA, WW, it wasn't MMA, it was WW. Maybe that was his... Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it was a big thing. I mean, I'm still figuring out, And, I guess watching Alan being gracious for getting stuff chucked at his head, it told me to be a better person. I don't know. We can put a positive spin on it. But what are your thoughts? Because I do think people get offended, right, when they see craziness.
Well, my thing is church people, it's like we keep saying, you keep saying, we got to lighten up. We got to realize that church was never meant to be this crisp, clean thing. It's messy. People express themselves in different ways. And guess what? You get too weird, we pull you aside and we say, hey, I don't know what you do at home, but hey, stop being so weird. Just like, hey, just chill out, for a minute. It's like what we tell people all the time. Morningstar is such a place where we empower people to be ministers, and so sometimes that can get weird. And when that happens, that's what we're here for, is to say, hey, listen, you got a little out of line there. But with grace and with, we're not coming in and being like, you can never minister again. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's how you approach is the grace. Because, some people just aren't aware that some things that they're doing are just not
craziness.
normal, yeah, or just completely insane. It's okay. So you just got to have grace.
I think so. And I think so now maybe you're thinking, you know what? I was mad about something at church, but now it doesn't seem quite so bad after I've listened to Drive Time with David and Dave. It could be worse.
It could be worse. It could be worse.
You could have had worse things happen. And the other thing too is honestly, like, there have been a couple of times where stuff like that has happened and it provides this sensitive moment for you to speak into someone's life.
Yeah.
I can't recall one right now. I'm sure.
I really thought you were going into a great example there. You're like, this
I'm
one time.
holding out that it could happen in the future that way. Yeah. And, I think too, like, the scripture where, we're getting scriptural now. Ding!
Yeah. We've done it.
The scripture where Jesus talks about letting the tares in the wheat grow up together, because if you try to pull out the tares, you'll uproot the wheat.
Right.
I think, like, the biggest thing that I had to mature in, especially coming to Morningstar, Rick, when he's overseeing a meeting, you never, ever, 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 ever get the feeling that he's not in control.
Right.
Because of his force of character. He's just that guy. Yeah. I mean, he's there. He knows what's going on. But, like, sometimes I'm looking and I'm like, well, it's getting a little, edgy here.
Yeah.
But he still, it's that tension where there's stuff going on, but he's in control. And I think the thing that I learned is, like, if you try to, like, legislate it, if you try to get in there, you're pulling out the tare, but you're pulling out the wheat. Have you thought that?
I totally get what you're saying.
I totally.
Yeah, that was a totally thing. But I just want you to know, as you were saying that, I don't know if you could hear it, but there was 2 shofars blowing in the background.
Was it a double shofar?
And I was like, what's going on?
That is awesome. I hope it comes through on the tape.
Me too. Because, that kind of adds to our whole episode.
Yeah. I think, one time we were in the middle of a meeting and it was really hard. But if you haven't been to Morningstar, please, we want to invite you to come. Yes. You can stay for a day, a week, a month, the rest of your life. We've got places for you. Come and meet Dave and I. And you can come and see Nate the Great and Sam Wise from the Shire in Studio 8.
That's right.
And but one time, the guy was selling shofars on Main Street.
Oh, yeah.
And a bunch of people bought them. And they were blowing them, and it was like, some people were trying to do stuff or trying to have conversations.
Yeah.
So there was a volunteer, the zealot volunteer, where they're like, Dave, whatever you say, if it costs me my life, I am going to do it right now.
I will shut it down.
I will shut it down. And I go, can you just, gently find the shofar blowing man or woman? Because listen, I'm not, not trying to be sexist here. Could have been either.
Right.
And report back. This guy comes back like an hour later, shirt ripped, sweating profusely. He's like, I just start to get closing in on where they are. And then all of a sudden it appears in another part of the building.
Dave, I've got
because
so many
there's
stories.
like a call and response of shofar.
There is.
Here. Yeah.
One shofar blower blows it. The other, it's like they come out of the woodwork. They're like, it's like when deer or like elk, they're like, they move their head. They hear a sound. Oh man, I remember there was one, we were recording our CD Sovereign. By the way, you can buy it and stream it on iTunes. It's a Morningstar CD. We were doing it, right? And it was live track, 1,000+ people here. There was like 2 or 3 shofar blowers. I stopped the song and said, can someone please find the shofars? I was like, we are recording an album. And I had several of the students running through the crowd. And I remember one of the shofar people took off running.
Like, oh, yeah.
Like, you ain't going to take my shofar. It was hilarious. But, lest we go off onto all kinds of shofar stories. But,
no, I think so I think, again, ladies and gentlemen, I like the idea of having enough liberty in the services around us. Now, you don't want to do stuff that, knowingly offends people. Like, I don't want to, like, you ever be around someone and they're doing something edgy just for the sake of being, no, that's not what we're talking about. I'm just saying you cast the net into sea. You pull out a bunch of fish, Jesus said. Some good. You got to sort through them.
Right.
It says this is a test question for ministry. Jesus said, the kingdom of heaven is like a treasure hidden in a field. There's a whole lot of field, baby. And it says you got to buy the field. There's treasure in there. So you'll get things from time to time. Hey, this is David and Dave reminding you to light up. He that sits in the heavens laugh. Dave, take us out until our next episode.
Yeah. So make sure to like us, follow us. You know, we are on all of the podcast platforms. So you want to just go ahead and share with people that you know need a good laugh, need to just lighten up a little, have a great time. And hey, check out all our episodes. We love you. We'll see you next time. Come visit us at Morningstar, but don't talk to me. Talk to Dave. All right. See you then.
Thank you, guys. David and Dave are David Vallier and Dave Yarnes of Morningstar Ministries. If you would like to know more about Morningstar Ministries, please visit their website at www.morningstarministries.org. Join us next time when we continue with the next edition of Drive Time with David and Dave. For David and Dave and their studio team at Morningstar Ministries, this is Chuck Christie saying thanks for lightening up with us. Psalm 2 verse 4 starts out, "For he who sits in the heavens laughs." Tune in again next time and laugh with us. Until then, remember to share, tweet, Insta, Snap, and look us up on Apple and Google Podcasts, Spreaker.com, iHeart, Spotify, and SoundCloud, and many other podcast portals. Make it a great week.